reclaiming narratives is so powerful because it allows us to think about the untold stories of Black people, especially in British history. Often when we think about Black History Month, we see it as an add-on, as something completely different to British history, when the truth is that Black history and British history is inseparable, especially when we look at the history of Caribbean people. We need to consider the factors of colonialism, empire, the Windrush, and we need to consider that there are still many Caribbean people who are members of the Commonwealth. That way, we need to recognise that this is our history, regardless of whichever ethnic group we belong to. This is our history.
I would like to emphasize that stories are powerful tools that shape how we understand our past, see our future, and chart the future so that it can reflect the development within our present time. For too long, history of Black communities have been shown through the lenses of people that are not Black. It has misinterpreted and given a misrepresentation and misinformation about what really happened. In fact, this story about the Black heritage cloud injustice that were signs and benefit of modern history. The claiming narrative talks about the Black people taking charge of their own history, taking charge to tell it as things have been, recognizing and reporting rightly what has happened in the past. It is not about emphasizing slavery or talking about civic rights. It is about bringing out what is important in the heritage of Black people. The story of Black people we also have in the Bible. You have the story, and the father, the wife of Moses was of the Black heritage. There are so many things in the Bible that shows that God has taken his time to reveal to human beings that we are all created equal, and that for us to be Christian, to worship God, we must and we ought to exercise that fact that we are all equal, we are all the same in the eyes of God.
I suppose you've got to start in a position whereby where you as a person, your culture, your history has been oppressed and suppressed, and there's nothing that talks about you in positive. You've got to create an environment where you can surface above the oppression. And one way of doing that, of course, is to have a celebratory occasion where that takes place. And I think that's part of the aim of Black History Month, where the positives, the cultural contribution that has been made by Black people over the many centuries to civilization is brought to the fore and can, in that way, negate some of the negatives that has been put out there for centuries by those who choose not to highlight our strengths. The idea of a Black History Month, of course, does suggest that Black people only come into being once a month, and of course that's not true. So Black History Month is only the start of something, it's not the be-all and end-all of something. And one would want to imagine that as time goes on, the society will transform in ways where all aspects of Black history and Black's contribution to life takes place across the school, the hospitals, the parliamentary services and elsewhere. So it becomes an integral part of the knowledge base and of the educational system of the country. And in that sense, Black History Month becomes irrelevant because now Black history and its contribution is something that takes place across the year. In terms of the church, I think the church has a responsibility to its congregation to ensure that all people are seen as the same. And I think the church over the years have never been completely honest about its role with slavery and its contribution to suppressing the contribution of black people over the years. And there are evidence, real strong evidence, to show that the church has been complicit in many ways with the system of white supremacy. So I think the church has to put its hand up and say, we have a role to play here. And one of that role is to be at the forefront of promoting Black History Month and the contribution of black people throughout civilization for millennium, not just a few decades.
I think I would like to say I'm proud of who I am. I am Black African. I come from Zimbabwe. And I'm so grateful and thankful for being part of the Martyrs Church. I came through the sisters. That was the time when I was invited. Ever since then, I've been coming to Martyrs Church. I've enjoyed the community. I've enjoyed the fellowship. I've enjoyed the prayer times. I've enjoyed the welcome team. And also, I've enjoyed being part of a multicultural community, having a one-to-one interaction, hand-to-one community like this, where we share food, we share cultures, we share our lives. But then, even though there have been so many challenges, sometimes some people, they find it quite challenging or quite difficult, so much that they find themselves, they suppress of who they are. They would like to be like somebody. I'm glad I am African. I'm Black African. I enjoy that.
So Black History Month, it really gives us the opportunity to take the intentional steps to look at history and the diverse voices within history, because often the voices of marginalised or global majority people are missing. They're minimised or excluded. Like yesterday, I was looking at some resources from the Black Curriculum, which is an organisation that wants to look at Black history being incorporated 365 days of the year. And I learned that there was a pioneer in science called John Edmonstone, who was actually a mentor to Charles Darwin. Now, I didn't know that before yesterday. And that's a classic example of where the contributions of Black people are erased from history. So I see Black History Month as an opportunity to take those intentional steps, to do personal research, to look, to amplify voices. And when we consider the church and the resources that we use, it's an opportunity for churches in their services to include those voices of Black mentors, Black theologians, Black preachers, Black sermons, songs by Black songwriters, and celebrate those contributions as not an add-on or something on the margins of British society, but significant contributions to British society. And by doing so, it really supports intercultural relations, and it shows the beauty with living in a diverse society.